Welcome back to the channel, a place of Africa's untold histories. My name is Ubuntu, and this is Ubuntu Endless Archive. What if I told you that there is a place on Earth where you can trace your family tree back millions of years? A place that holds the secret to who we are, where we came from, and how we became human. This isn't just another archaeological site. This is the site. The place where more early human fossils have been found than anywhere else on Earth. We're talking about discoveries that fundamentally changed our understanding of human evolution. If you've ever wondered where humanity began, buckle up, because the answer is more specific, more fascinating, and more African than you ever imagined. The story really takes off in 1924. A young anatomist named Raymond Dart receives a box of fossils from a limestone quarry near Tong in South Africa. Among them is a small skull, the child maybe 3 or 4 years old. But this wasn't a modern human child. The skull had a unique combination of features, some ape-like, some human-like. Dart realized he was looking at something nobody had seen before, a transitional species between apes and humans. He called it Australopithecus africanus, southern ape from Africa, and he made a bold claim that shocked the scientific world. Humans evolved in Africa, not Asia or Europe, as most scientists believed at the time. The European scientific establishment went ballistic. How dare this colonial researcher suggest that humans, sophisticated, intelligent humans, came from Africa? They dismissed him, mocked him, called him a fraud. But Dart was right. And over the next century, the Sterkfontein caves and surrounding areas would prove him right beyond any doubt. The Sterkfontein caves alone have yielded more Australopithecus fossils than anywhere else on Earth. We're talking hundreds of specimens representing dozens of individuals, spanning millions of years of human evolution. So why here? Why do these caves hold such an incredible record of human evolution? It comes down to geology and luck, mostly geology. The Sterkfontein caves are part of a massive limestone cave system. Millions of years ago, these caves had openings to the surface. Early hominids, our ancestors, would fall into these openings, or their bodies would be dragged in by predators. The limestone environment is perfect for fossilization. The bones would become buried in sediment, mineralize over time, and be preserved for millions of years. Then, as erosion exposed the caves again, paleontologists could excavate and find them. But here's what's truly remarkable. The Cradle of Humankind isn't just one site. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site covering nearly 50,000 hectares with multiple cave systems. Sterkfontein Caves, the richest Australopithecus site on Earth's Swartkrans, evidence of early fire use, 1 million years ago. Kromdraai, first discovery of Paranthropus robustus. Maripang, the visitor center built to tell this story. Rising Star Cave, where Homo naledi was discovered in 2013. Each cave tells a different chapter of the human story. Together, they span roughly 4 million years of human evolution. We've found multiple species here. Australopithecus africanus 3 to 2 million years ago, Australopithecus sediba 2 million years ago, Paranthropus robustus to 1 million years ago, early Homo species 2. 1.5 million years ago, Homo naledi 335,000 to 236,000 years ago. This is the most complete record of human evolution anywhere on the planet. Let me tell you about one fossil in particular that captured the world's imagination. Mrs. Ples. In 1947, paleontologist Robert Broom discovered a nearly complete Australopithecus africanus skull at Sterkfontein. It was so well preserved, so complete, that it became one of the most famous hominid fossils ever found. They nicknamed it Mrs. Ples, short for Paleanthropus transvalensis, which was the original scientific name. Later analysis suggested she might actually have been a he, but the name stuck. Mrs. Ples is approximately 2.05 million years old. Looking at Mrs. Ples, you can see the transition happening. The skull is small, about 485 cubic centimeters, roughly a third the size of a modern human brain. The face projects forward, ape-like. But the teeth are more human than ape. And critically, the position of the spinal cord entry point shows this creature walked upright, onto legs. This is our ancestor. Not exactly, not directly, it's more like a great dash and a few million times removed. But when you look at Mrs. Ples, you're looking at the face of the family. If Mrs. Ples is famous, then Littlefoot is legendary. In 1994, paleontologist Ron Clark was examining boxes of fossils from Sterkfontein when he noticed 4 small foot bones that fit together. He realized these weren't random. They were from a single individual. And if the foot bones were here, maybe there was more. Clark went into the caves with a flashlight and his trained eye. Deep in a chamber called the Silverberg Grotto, embedded in concrete hard rock, he found what he was looking for: more bones. A lot more bones. What followed was one of the most painstaking excavations in paleontological history. It took 20 years to carefully remove the skeleton from the rock. And when they did, they had something unprecedented. Littlefoot is the most complete Australopithecus skeleton ever found, over 90% complete, including the skull. And it's old. Recent dating puts it at 3.67 million years old, making it one of the oldest hominid skeletons in existence. Littlefoot tells us that our ancestors were walking upright more than 3.5 million years ago. The skeleton shows adaptations for bipedalism, walking onto legs, but also features suggesting they still climbed trees. This was a transitional creature, at home both in the trees and on the ground. The individual, likely female based on pelvic structure, stood about 130 centimeters tall, about 4 feet 3 inches. She lived in a very different Africa, more forested, more lush, filled with predators that are now extinct. And she died here in these caves, where she would wait 3.67 million years to tell us her story. Just when you think the cradle of humankind can't surprise us anymore, it does. In 2013, cavers exploring the Rising Star Cave system discovered a chamber filled with bones. Not just a few bones, over 1,500 skeletal elements representing at least 15 individuals. There was one problem: the chamber was incredibly difficult to reach. You had to squeeze through passages so narrow that only the smallest team members could get through. So they put out a call for skinny scientists, and that's exactly what they got. A team of slender paleontologists who could navigate the treacherous route. What they found was a new species, Homo naledi. And it's weird. Really weird. Homo naledi has a strange mix of primitive and modern features. Small brain about the size of an orange, but hands capable of precision grip. Primitive shoulders for climbing, but feet almost identical to modern humans. Some features look like Lucy Australopithecus afarensis, others look almost human. The real shocker came with the dating. Most scientists expected Homo naledi to be 2 to 3 million years old based on its features. But the dating results showed something stunning: 335,000 to 236,000 years ago. That means Homo naledi existed at the same time as early Homo sapiens. This wasn't some ancient ancestor, this was a contemporary cousin, living alongside us in Africa. The lesson: human evolution wasn't a straight line from ape to human. It was a bush with multiple species existing simultaneously, some successful, some not. We Homo sapiens just happened to be the last ones standing. Here's what gets me about the cradle of humankind. This isn't just South African history or African history. This is everyone's history. Every single human alive today, all 8 billion of us, can trace our ancestry back to Africa. The genetic evidence is overwhelming. Homo sapiens emerged in Africa roughly 300,000 years ago, and from there, we spread across the entire planet. The caves in South Africa hold the evidence of our deepest roots. When you look at those fossils, you're looking at your family tree. Whether you're from Japan, Norway, Brazil, or anywhere else on Earth, your ancestors walked in Africa millions of years ago. This should fundamentally change how we think about race, about human difference, about who belongs where. We're all Africans if you go back far enough. The differences we see today, skin color, facial features, hair texture, they're recent adaptations to different environments. Cosmetic variations on a fundamentally African blueprint. The cradle of humankind is sacred ground, not in a religious sense, but in a scientific and human sense. It's the place where our journey began, where curious, upright walking apes started down the long path that would eventually lead to art, music, language, space travel, and yes, YouTube videos about our own origins. Today, the cradle of humankind is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, protected by law. But it faces threats. Mining operations, development pressure, and climate change all pose risks to these irreplaceable sites. There's also the ongoing work of excavation and research. Every year, new discoveries are made. New fossils are found. New techniques allow us to extract more information from old specimens. The story is still being written. And importantly, this knowledge needs to be accessible. The Marapeng Visitor Center does incredible work making this science available to everyone, school groups, tourists, local communities. Because this story belongs to everyone. There's also a new generation of African paleontologists and researchers who are taking ownership of this story. For too long, African history was told by outsiders. Now African scientists are leading the charge, making discoveries, publishing papers, and ensuring that the cradle of humankind remains in African hands, telling African stories. The Sterkfontein Caves and the surrounding cradle of humankind hold nearly a third of all early hominid fossils ever discovered. That one statistic still blows my mind. Think about all the paleontologists all over the world, all the excavations in Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, Chad, and beyond, and still, this one area in South Africa holds more of our ancient ancestors than anywhere else. From Mrs. Ples to Littlefoot to Homo naledi, these aren't just fossils. They're family portraits from millions of years ago. They're proof that the human story, all of our stories, begins in Africa. If this video changed your perspective on human origins, hit that like button and subscribe. We're dedicated to telling the complete story of human achievement, starting from the very beginning. Comment below. Have you visited the cradle of humankind? Would you want to? What other aspects of human evolution should we explore? And check out our other videos on ancient African innovations, because the story doesn't end with these fossils. It's just the beginning. Thanks for watching. And remember, we're all African if you go back far enough. See you in the next one.